Feedback. Feedback.
Hi, this is Theo Broughton,
And I am Thabiti Mpinda.
inviting you to join us each Monday at 9 a.m. for Feedback.
A positive image production by Hood Research.
Encourage others to tune in each Monday on
Comcast Detroit, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, watch WHPR TV Network anywhere.
and take us along with you.
Feedback. Feedback. Feedback.
This is Bruce Simpson, your City of Detroit Ombudsman. I am here to address all of your complaints and concerns. If you need assistance regarding city services, please contact my office at 313-224-6000 or contact us via email at ombudsman@detroitmi.gov. This is Bruce Simpson, your City of Detroit Ombudsman.
It's you liberals who have lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard, you liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him. He feels compelled to try to act like us. He loses his identity and his racial anger, if he has any. He becomes alien to his brothers. They realize he sold them out and they grow to hate him. He becomes worthless to them and safe for us. No, thank you. In fact, in his love for the creature comforts, except for his color, he's become one of us.
We are all the way live right here at WHPR, WHPS, 160 Victor Street. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're tuned into Feedback, a positive image production by Hood Research. My name is Theo Broughton, co-founder of Hood Research, and my co-host,
Thabiti, and we welcome you to the program.
All right. We'd like to invite you to log on to hoodresearch.org. If you'd like to email us, the email is contact@hoodresearch.org. And the phone number is area code 248-234-2371. Again, the telephone number is area code 248-234-2371. So call us, email us, and this coming Saturday, join us. We'll be at the Dabo Center on Grand River in Wyoming. That address is 12048 Grand River, right on the corner of Wyoming. And we will be having our regular meeting. We will be celebrating our 27th birthday this coming Saturday, which is July 13th. Come out and enjoy our refreshments and surprises, and we're going to have speakers as we usually do. And with you, it'll be a wonderful event. I want to thank those of you who helped to sponsor this program, and for those of you who are considering it, please write your check or money order out to Hood Research. But if you prefer, you can write it out to Watkins Broadcasting Company. We don't have an objection to that at all. But we'd like you to mail it to Hood Research at P.O. Box 4416, Detroit, Michigan 48204. We'd like you to mail it to Hood Research, P.O. Box 4416, Detroit, Michigan 48204. I want to say a wonderful happy Monday to Rosa and to Barbara. We're glad that you're out of the hospital, and on the men, and to Vera and Ron, and to Tom Barrow. And we want to say happy Monday to Elizabeth and to Mary. And oh my goodness, Thabiti, there are just so many, people. I want to say a happy Monday to Jay way over on the east side, and a happy Monday to Les way over on the west side, and to everybody in between. You want to say a good morning to a few?
Shout outs to Cheryl D, Jackie Bowman, Frida, Brother Shane, Brother Fred, Brother Smith Bay, and as always, ask you to have pen and paper ready for valuable information you want to record, and ask your family, friends, neighbors, co-workers, acquaintances to tune in and join us And I'm going to ask our engineer, if he will, to put the call-in numbers at the bottom of the screen. We can all engage in a wonderful dialogue.
And I want you to know that the meeting and celebration this coming Saturday is from 2 p.m. until 6 p.m. 2 p.m. until 6 p.m. 12048 Grand River. Now, we want to introduce you, for those of you who may not know, and reacquaint, for those of you who do know, with our guest today, who is none other than attorney Sharon McPhail. Thank you for joining us. How about that?
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Good to see you again.
Yes,
It's been
thank
a
you,
while.
thank you. It was always good to be seen. What you say?
Yeah.
And we were very glad that you accepted the invitation. But first, for those who might not know, tell us, who is Sharon McPhail?
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm that woman who 20-some years
my
ago
God.
now ran for mayor of the city of Detroit
Oh, my God.
and won the primary. And sad to say, at this juncture, I'm still the only woman ever to have won a primary for mayor of the city of Detroit. It was probably the experience where I learned the most. I was a social worker first and then a lawyer, and I have had a number of positions in the city that I always try to turn into something, that can help our people.
Right.
And, I started out at Ford Motor Company for 4 years, and then I went to the United States Attorney's Office. So I've been both a prosecutor and on the federal and state level, and I've been an attorney in a couple of different law firms. I was an elected member of City Council and the general counsel to the mayor of Detroit under Kwame Kilpatrick. And it was that was an experience too. I got to tell you what they did to him, but that's another story. So, I've been involved in a number of programs over the years that I've created for the benefit of people like the homeless, particularly.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been a superintendent / CAO of a K-12 charter school. I don't even like charter schools, but this one, it happened, was so far down. The children were learning so little in 2012 that I felt like somebody needed to go in there and fix that. And pretty much that's what I did for Mayor Kilpatrick. I redesigned his departments, starting with workforce development, so that they were functional and they were meeting their goals and their mission, adhering to their mission. And most recently, I was asked to be the policy advisor for the Michigan Democratic Black Caucus.
Oh, really?
So I'm doing a little bit here and there.
What is a CAO?
A chief administrative officer who is responsible for just basically overseeing everything in the entity, whatever it is. In my case, it involved everything in there that I was supposed to supervise or make sure they were doing what they were supposed to do. But I didn't actually do the curriculum myself. I had someone who did that. And I didn't do the evaluation of teachers. I had someone who did that. Consultants primarily, but also principals and assistants who were certified to do that.
Oh, okay.
We have a caller already.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Let's jump right in. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please? Hello, caller. You're on the air. Okay, we'll call back.
Okay.
Another caller. Let's try this one. Hello. Oh, wait a minute. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share
Hello?
your name and how you're viewing us?
Good morning,
Good morning.
all of you.
Thanks for calling. This Kirk?
Yeah, this is Kurt. How you guys doing this morning?
Thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Sharon a question on the GPA of students before the state took over. If you compare the two, is there a big difference? Grade point average of the Detroit school students before the state took over.
Okay, can you speak up again? Is there a grade before the state took over? What was it? What is the question?
Okay, I'm asking about the GPA grade point average of the students of the city of Detroit
Okay.
before the state took over. If you compare them to what it is now, as
Okay.
opposed to what it was before 1999, what kind of difference are we looking at?
Oh, okay. Did you hear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for taking my question.
Yeah.
All right. No, you can stay there.
That would be something that, you really have to look at the scores and compare them across that many years. But my understanding from other educators in the area is that it's not good. That not only did they bankrupt the system when the state took over, but they, we all knew that was about money anyway. There was no need to take over that system. It had just received the National Science Foundation Award for improvements in science, not to mention the 4th year in a row that their MEP scores, their annual test scores, had come up. So they come in here and take over because they want to save the children, as if they ever want to do that. And they basically destroyed the system. They turned much of it over to charters that didn't do any better job than some of the public schools were doing. In fact, in general, public schools deliver a better education. And so if you look at the charter schools across the community, I've been looking at that for a number of years. In the city of Detroit, we're the top school in terms of student achievement. Our students last May, when the scores came in on the SAT test, which is the national norm reference test that's given every year, and to all high school students in the country. Our students beat Cass Tech on the math portion of that test, and they were behind only Renaissance, and I think by a couple of points, nothing substantial. So when I got there in 2012, they were failing. Our school was at, according to the Mackinac Public Policy Center, 5.56% in 2012. I arrived in September of 2012, and by October of this school year, which is 2018, the scores would have been last May of 2018 scores. We had gained 82 points. We were at 86.12 just over the 6 years that I was at the school.
What's the name of the school?
Detroit Community Schools.
Detroit Community
Which
Schools.
gets confused because the public school system, DPS, decided to change their name to our
Right.
name. We
Right.
wrote them a letter and said, you can't do that. This is our name. So then they named themselves something very similar. And I'm constantly getting things from the state saying that are supposed to go to DPS, but they think that we're DPS. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But it's always something with them, and not so much them, but the Michigan Department of Education, which is the lead agency in making sure that black children don't get educated.
Right.
Because they don't do anything about it, and they've known about it forever.
But isn't there also conversation going on about eliminating the State Board of Education?
Well, the State Board of Education is in a policy-making role. They're not the problem. The problem is those people that work at the Michigan Department of Education who think that they can abuse people and get away with it.
Okay.
And so approximately, I guess, end of 2015, they started coming after me because this online reporter wrote an article saying I wasn't certified. I'm not certified in education. I never argued that. That's why I don't do curriculum and evaluation of teachers. I have people who do that. Like Mike Duggan, as CEO of the medical center, didn't do brain surgery. He had people who did that.
Thank
But he
God.
was still the CEO. And I was still the CAO of Detroit Community Schools, despite the fact that I did not do curriculum or teacher evaluation, which are the hallmarks of certification. That's why you need certification. Not to even get into whether the certification actually relates to what they're saying they want you to do. That's a whole other issue. But just dealing with it as if it's necessary. It's necessary, and the statute says you have to have it if you are primarily responsible for the delivery of instructional programs. I was not. Had nothing to do with instruction, except to supervise and make sure that people were coming to work and doing the things they were supposed to do.
Yeah, it sounds like switching bait. Did you have a follow-up question, Kurt?
Yeah, no, just a one little comment. I'll let you go. I didn't know the effect that destroying the school, Detroit public schools, I didn't know what effect it would have on the neighborhood as far as the parents moving out. I guess I didn't miss children on this block until they were gone. I hardly ever see it. I'm over here on the west side in my people, and I didn't know how much I didn't miss them until this thing happened. It's unbelievable. There's no kids on our block riding up down the street on the bike playing or nothing, I know kids are out now. There's a few of them out now, but prior to that, especially since they spearheaded, from what I understand, the Section 8 program outside the street. So, I don't know. I guess I do miss the kids on the block. And I see the destruction on the block from the parents moving all abandoned houses and stuff like that. And they didn't do anything about it until those girls came up missing. And all of a sudden now they want to board up all the vacant houses in the neighborhood. And thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
Mm-hmm.
We have another caller. Hopefully this is better.
Yeah.
A couple of
Okay,
callers,
go ahead.
actually. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us?
Happy Monday, slide go.
Happy Monday.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Miss McPhail. It's a pleasure and an honor to see you on the show.
Oh,
And I just want to thank you for running for mayor. I did vote for you because you have been always talking about the education piece that's needed, and you also talked about the insurance, how we need to go against the insurance industry for this redlining.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what's wrong with our people, our elected officials. They don't want to fight about that.
I know.
Right. We still wandering in the world of redlining. It's the same. But I want to thank you also, Ms. McPhail, for taking on the school issue, because our children need more like you that will step in and support the community and those children in that community, because as we see every day how they're trying to destroy and how they have destroyed communities by shutting down schools and allowing the communities to look like war zone areas. And that has a profounding effect on the mentality of our people and our children.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. Did you have a question?
No, I'm just calling to give her a shout out and thank her for being such a contribution to our community wherever needed. And I'll hang up and continue to listen.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Have a happy Monday.
All right. Happy Monday to you.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please?
Hello. Good morning to everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Your name?
This is the one, the only Super Rashide.
All right. Thanks for calling. Haven't heard from you for a while.
Yep. I've been out and about in the city of Detroit, Michigan, all that good stuff. But hello, Miss Sharon McPhail, and hello to you, Miss Dio.
Hello.
And hey, I'm glad this station will allow me to call in. You know, some other stations won't. You know, don't want me to call in because I'm too famous or I make too much sense. I don't know what it is, but it's weird. But anyway, I love this station, and I'm very happy that I'm able to call in. And Miss Sharon McPhail, I would like to team up with you on some projects, and along with the family of Kwame Kilpatrick. I just want to say, by you running for mayor, it can only help you to help Kwame Kilpatrick.
Well, people seem to be asking that a lot these days, so I don't know if the current mayor is planning to run or not. Maybe he's not, and that's why. But I would like to do the job that the mayor does, but running for it, I don't know. That was rough. And what I found in the interim when I tried is that people wanted me to do it, but they didn't help. And, you know, you can't do it by yourself. So I don't know.
So you are running for mayor, right? Correct?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. You know what? I heard it. I heard it wrong. But I will say this though. I will say this. You are the number one key component to work with the Kilpatrick family, to unite the people with the Kilpatrick family to help him get free. You know, ASAP, whether it be through Trump, whether it be through Kim Kardashian, whether it be through Joe Biden, whether it be through Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden running for president. And I think, you know, everybody, most definitely, that should be a shoe-in. Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton on the ticket will be a shoe-in. But anyway, would you consider working with the people and the family for the Kwame Kilpatrick saga to help him get free?
Yeah, I already do that. I'm involved with, whenever, you know, they do something, one of the things that happens is one of them will call me. But I also am in touch with the mayor, the former mayor himself. I try to, you know, send him a little money every month, and not as much as I used to, but I used to do it every month without fail, and I try to get him whatever I can get him now, because he's in there, and, you know, if he doesn't have anything, you know, you have to have money even for pencil and paper. They don't give you that. So.
Well, Miss Sharon McPhail, Here's my key problem with the whole thing of the movement for Kwame Kilpatrick. There's a disconnect between the majority of the people of the city in Detroit and like working with the friends and the family. I do believe once everybody gets connected and on the same level, we can take this thing mainstream, and we really can call out these people 3 to 2 times a month out of the year. Call them out. Hey, let's have a real debate about this situation. If you feel like you're so logical about what you did to the man, why don't you have a real debate with the people of the city of Detroit? And I do believe the majority of the city of Detroit will stand with Kwame Kilpatrick, and the more the merrier, the more numbers. Let's not. I don't want to keep this thing underground. Let's go mainstream with this. Let's get it on WJOB. Let's get it all over the place. Let's get Big Sean involved. Let's get Bushman involved. Let's get Super Racide involved with the friends and the family all working together. And I do believe it'll be instantaneously. It'll be quicker, so sooner than later to get them free. So I would like to be able to get in contact with you. How can I best do that?
Let's see, how can
I get in touch.
Well, I'm actually able to be reached at my email, which is SHARMCPH at
I don't have a pen with me, but is there
well,
a
it's
number?
Easy. Let me just tell you, it's the first 4 letters.
Things of that nature.
First 4 letters of my first name, first 4 letters of my last name at AOL.com.
Oh,
really
excellent.
easy.
Okay,
And,
got it.
And I will
right.
leave my number. I will leave my number, personally leave my number, because I have like a lot of ideals to take this thing mainstream and and really take it to the opposition. Because if the opposition doesn't feel like the people of Detroit isn't taking it to them, they feel like they're right.
Okay.
You know?
I think a lot of our people have given up.
Yeah.
Because the system is, so
Rigged.
powerful against us that many feel like they can't do anything.
Well,
Okay.
Joe Biden. If Joe Biden wins, that's one way. Getting Kim Kardashian involved, maybe Trump, and that's just three ways. And I think there's other ways. But I'm gonna leave my number for you, Miss Sharon McPhail.
Well, you know the truth about Trump. If he finds out that Obama wouldn't do it, he's going to do it. That's what he does. Undo everything he did. Do everything he refused to
That's
do.
right. You better write to him and tell him, Racide. Thank you so much for your call.
I will leave my number. Okay.
Okay. Email her and give her a number. Okay.
Okay. Y'all have a blessed one. I'll see y'all later.
All right. Thanks for calling.
All right. Bye.
So
wow.
anyway, getting back to this the school thing. So I was on the board actually for a few months. I was sitting there realizing that our kids weren't learning anything. It was horrible. They were in the hallway all the time, not going to class. Kids were having sex in the locker room. Kids were selling drugs. There were gang members in the building. It was horrible.
Wow.
And nobody wanted to do anything about it. So I said, I'm going to go somewhere else with my time. I give time to organizations and agencies, but not for you to sit here and not do anything about this. So they said, well, we don't have any leadership in the school. Why don't you take it over? And I was like, what do you mean? No superintendent, no deputy, no principals. They had 2 counselors running the school.
What?
And it's K through 12, and there were 900 children at the time. It was horrifying to me that these kids were coming there every day and learning absolutely nothing. And when you're at 4.56% on a 100-point scale, and what makes that up is test scores, graduation rate, and the school also gets a score for financial. The school was broke on top of it. There was 0 bank balance. So they said, why don't you do it? Which is what always happens to us. When stuff is in the toilet, people, why don't you
They
do
want
it?
us, yep.
And then, see if you can do it. Well, I know one thing. I have always felt that our children were not being educated properly in many places, and people were not trying as hard as they could, and that it had become sort of the whole workforce, not everybody, but a lot of people had just become disgruntled about the fact that they weren't being treated the way they should be. And they were right about that, especially teachers were right. They weren't being treated the way they should be.
Right.
So I thought, if I could take hold of this, I ought to be able to do something with it. And that was an understatement as to what happened. From September of 2012, within 18 months, we went from 4.56 to 27 on the top to bottom lists.
Oh.
And we became a Michigan Reward School.
They
They sent me a certificate saying we're a Michigan Reward School. That means that we have elevated scores and student achievement beyond what was expected. There's a number of factors that make that up, but it's awarded by the Department of Education.
Okay.
Okay, so you would think that would make a difference in a city where there are all these young minority children who are poor, and white children who are poor, frankly. That's why they still live here.
Yeah.
And, you see all of that, right? And nobody doing anything about it. And here's somebody that comes along and fixes that. You would think they'd be over there asking how you did this.
Right.
No. So then, my first year there in 2013, at the end of my first year there, I graduated 98% of the seniors, and what's significant about that is that it was only about 45% that were expected to graduate because they had failed so many courses, and nobody ever made them make them up. So I instituted a what I called the senior graduation program, and I brought in mentors for each student. We signed them up for credit recovery. We kicked them butts every day to make sure that they would get to the end of that year and be able to graduate, and they did.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
so, there were just a couple that didn't, and that they came back in the summer school and graduated. Because we allowed you to walk at graduation for your parents if you had fewer than 2 courses to, make up. So all of that was done in the first year, and the school was also under the gun in terms of their compliance. There's about 1,000 reports you have to file in a school. They hadn't been doing it. People would be calling me up. The first week I was there, the Department of Education, U.S. Department of Education called about a complaint against the school, and I said, I only been here like a week, and they said, well, that's too bad, but it's on you. So, and they were in default for not answering the complaint. So now I got to answer, and the school didn't have any money. You can't afford to hire a law firm to do this, so I'm doing the legal work on top of everything else.
Yeah.
And it was filthy, and Theo, I can't have that, right? It was
I
filthy.
know.
The children walk in there, and they've got a building that is leaking, and is black spots and dirt on the floor. It was horrible. That had to be addressed. And then I find out that the teachers are all subs, with the exception of about 4. And they didn't have any real stable teaching going on in there, and there was no curriculum. I mean, it was as bad as you can imagine.
Oh, but
it
they didn't
being.
have principals either.
No, but
running
still,
by
they had them for a
counselors.
while before that. I mean,
Yes.
that school was open for, I guess, 17 years. They had principals at one time. They just let them, they resigned and nobody did anything. But just because you have one doesn't mean they're any good. That's the other
true.
thing.
That's
And,
true.
my requirement, there were 2 requirements I had. One, and most important, can you love our children? If you can't answer that yes, you need to go somewhere else because this is not the place for you. And by that I mean when you look at them, I want to see a warm, fuzzy look coming over your face, like that's your baby you're looking at. And then, 2, can you work hard? Because you have to do that to make children comfortable and to have them learn and to make them feel enough self-esteem that they believe they can learn. Because if you don't think you can learn, you can't. There was also the issue of the teachers. Many of the teachers that were there, in the K-8 especially, did not think the children could learn. They had all kind of stuff to say. It's the parents, these poor parents struggling to keep food on the table. It's the parents, it's the kids, they can't learn. It's the society, the families are poor. They had all these excuses, which schools generally have. You'll hear that everywhere. And the reality is our children can learn, and they can learn at very high levels. But they have to know that. They have to believe that. And you have to make the teachers convey to those children that they think the children can learn.
Encourage them.
I wanted to ask, how did you, because you said 4.5 or something like that, and you moved up to 24 or something, I believe you said.
That was the first 18 months.
Yes. What did you institute, or how were you able to change the morale and the whole mindset for them to feel comfortable, to become engaged, and to want to do better? Because you had to change the mindset of the instructors as well as the students to make them want to feel like it. But what would you say were some of the tools that you used in order to be able to do that?
I started out by a visual, because our kids are very visual. I had signs all over the school. You're brilliant, you can do it. You're the reason we're here. And I put that sign up in the cafeteria. In order to work here, you have to love our children. And everywhere you look, there was some affirmation of who these children are and what they can do. Started with that, and then one by one. I mean, my first day there was a young lady sitting in the office writing a suicide note.
Oh,
and she was very serious. She had a plan as to how she was going to do it. She had lost her mom and her dad within the same year, was living with her grandmother. Grandma had no money. They had no groceries. I took her to Kroger, bought her groceries for the house, and then started talking to her about who she was and what importance she had in the world. This little girl, she kind of looked like, the best I can say is Precious. She kind of looked like her. And she felt bad about herself. So I started telling her every time I saw her, "You look beautiful today." And nobody had ever told, she'd stand and cry in the hallway because nobody had ever told, and I thought she looked beautiful. I wasn't just making that up. And, so she came to feel like she could be beautiful too. And for little girls, every little girl needs somebody to tell them they're beautiful. And the boys, what I expect of you. Gentlemen, I refer to them as gentlemen. I refer to the girls as ladies. I started clubs. And for all the boys and the girls, and I had somebody doing the boys' clubs who didn't do much, but the girls' clubs, our ninth graders were the princesses, and then we had the duchesses and the ladies and the queens. The seniors were the queens. And, interestingly, we met once every couple weeks, and I fed them, and I had the ninth graders. Other people had the others, but I fed them, and we talked about things they wanted to talk about. We talked about boys, what you should and should not be doing with them. We talked about all kinds of things. And they came to feel like they were of value. And that was my whole point. I want them to feel valuable. And many of these kids come from homes where dad isn't there. That was one of the biggest problems we had. Probably 75% of the kids had no dad. No father figure, but their own dad. Some of them, he was in jail. Some of them, he was dead. Some of them, he just wasn't engaged. And so that is devastating to a child. A child is 37 times more likely to drop out of high school with no dad in their life. So now we're having to overcome that. But each time I did things every day to change the impact of that school on those kids, to make the school be the place where they came to build their self-esteem, not tear it down. I started a program called Mastery Grading. And I don't know if you're familiar with Glasser, but Glasser has a theory about schools and how they should be run. And, he's a white guy, so I figured it'd be okay if I used him, even though it was pretty much my ideas. He didn't come as close to mine as I wanted, but I started with the white guy, so I figured everybody'd be okay with that. So the mastery grading approach, his thesis, and I agree with this part, is the grades don't mean anything, and they really don't, because it's just what some teachers' evaluation is of you. And unless you're talking about 1 and 1 is 2, there's a whole lot of subjectivity built into what a teacher thinks about your essay you wrote or your, any of those things. So math classes might be a little different, but still there's wiggle room there. So, and I had teachers who were failing over 90% of their students in 2012. And of course, I didn't have them long because at the end of the year, I got rid of them. Because if you're failing 90% of your students, it's you. So it's not them.
Exactly.
It's not the kids. And that was my view, that the students can learn. We have to help them get out of their own way so they can learn. So the numbers started going up incrementally from the first year. Every year, the graduation rate stayed high. It was almost 100% every year, because I did that senior graduation program every year. I started it in October. And in March, I started emailing parents. Johnny has this many courses to make up. Johnny won't show up. I need you to make Johnny show up. And so April, another letter. May, another letter. The May letter was Johnny's not going to graduate. You don't want to get to that. And we never did, because we engaged parents. So all these parents that people are saying they don't care, they're not showing up, see, you're not communicating with them. We don't have an achievement gap between white and black children. We have a do your daggone job gap. And that is due to the fact that many people in education have given up and are buying the hype that these children can't learn and are not willing to put in the effort. Now, it's true that we all have lives and we have to do what we have to do, but nobody made you go to education school. Nobody dragged you over there. You went because you wanted to do this, and it was a mission at one time, and we need to return people to where the mission is primary as opposed to all these other things. And salary, retirement, those things are important too, but we have to take care of that so teachers aren't worried about that and that they can return to their mission, which is educating children.
You mentioned early on about being a reward school or receiving a reward. Did any monies come with that?
Oh, no.
Oh, just Just a nice little certificate that says, guess what?
I was so happy to
okay.
get that because you know what? It was evidence that the Michigan Department of Education knew what I was doing.
Ah.
And I had a consultant who was telling me that there was someone up there that wanted me to come up and talk to them about how I was doing this. And they were shocked because they're looking at these scores of this school that was at the bottom statewide coming up every year.
Mm-hmm.
So this last year, the Mackinac Center for Public Policy, and you probably know about them, they're a Republican group,
Yes.
right wing,
Yes.
at least they're thought to be, and they do an analysis of all of the high schools in the city over a 6-year period. And May of 2018 happened to be the end of the 6-year period.
Okay.
We came up, according to them, our 2012 percentage rank was 4.56. Our 2018 percentage rank was 86.12. We gained 81.56 points over the 6 years that I was there. We also, in September, when we started school this year, September 2018, we had a $400,000 fund balance. We had restored the school to its fiscal good health.
All right.
And all of the students were graduating. Our scores were up 82 points almost from the day I got there. And they decided it's a good time to come in and take over the school because Sharon McPhail is not certified. So this certification issue has been interesting. When I first got to the school, I wasn't certified then either, by the way. And there was an authorizer, a university, and they came in. And essentially, the board chair at that time was asking me for money from the school and from me personally, trying to extort money. I called the authorizer, and they came in and told me I need to get along with him better. So until that happened, they had nothing to say about my certification.
Oh, wow.
When that happened, suddenly my certification was an issue. So I enrolled in some course, and I had to drive to 26 Mile to get to it. And when I got there, the course was about how does a bill become a law? You know the Schoolhouse Rock song? Today
Yeah,
I
it used to
still
come
just a
on
bill.
TV.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay, I'm a lawyer for 40 years at this point, right? And I'm listening to Schoolhouse Rock at a course that they tell me I need to take to do what I'm already doing.
And on 26 Mile.
Because by then I was a reward school. So I'm already doing it, and you want me to go 2-3 nights a week, drive out to 26 Mile. Well, you understand, when I came to that school, I had to work until probably 9-10 o'clock every night. It was so bad the security people used to come in and knock on my door and say, Ms. McPhail, it's time, I need to go home. Can you come? I can't go home till you go home. And really, I was the first one to get there, the last one to leave. And that went on for several years before I could kind of relax a little bit because by this time I'm getting high blood pressure, right? I got kids who are suicidal. I got kids who are being abused. I got parents who are starving, who have nothing. You know, I got all of this going on at the same time. So I brought in Maureen Taylor from Welfare Rights and to help the parents. And she starts getting people housing, getting their gas, light, and water bills turned back on, and, really doing the kinds of things that these families need. Because you go home to do your homework and got no lights, you can't do your homework.
Right.
So that started happening. And I was, as usual, spending most of my resources. Either one of the things I did was that year I took a 3-month pay cut, 100%. Of my salary I gave back for 3 months because we needed the money. The school needed the money. And then I, over time, spent quite a bit of it on groceries and kids who didn't have clothes. We did an underwear drive. I don't know if you know this, but poor children don't have underwear. They have a couple of pairs, and that's it. Because if you're deciding between buying food for dinner and buying a new bra or some underpants, you're going to buy the food for dinner.
Right.
So when we found that out, and young ladies would have a need to have some change of things, and they would say they can't go home and change because there's nothing to change into. And it wasn't everybody, but it was a substantial number of kids, more than half, in a school that had at that time almost 900 students.
Wow.
So if you can imagine every day, what's being required of you every day.
Wow. Hold us a moment. We do have a caller.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please?
Yes, hello. My name is Keith Hines, Diamond 2 Productions, Hood Research, We the People, UIN.
All right.
Of course, it can go on and on.
Well, thank you, Keith. Thank you for calling.
Yeah,
you have with us this
I'm looking at you on the internet. I can't hear you, but I can see you guys. I can hear you now on the phone since you answered the phone. But I can't hear you through my set, no.
Uh-huh.
And good morning, Miss Sharon McPhail.
Good morning.
Nice to see you there.
Thank you. Nice to hear
Yep,
you.
I didn't catch the whole topic. I just wanted to be answer the phone. We're talking about clothes for kids and stuff, and finances. And yes, it is real tight out here for children and the families as well. I don't know. I could probably talk about a lot of things. Probably the most current thing going on is what we got going on up at the airport, which is our DayTech project, which is the Detroit Aerospace Technical Technologies Engineering Community Corridor.
Benjamin Davis Tuskegee.
TTECC.
Uh-huh.
Make it real quick.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna take up too much time. I just had to call in, because it's show my support. 'Cause I see her up there, and I haven't seen her in a while and stuff and everything. Just let her know we're still out here for you.
All right.
She's been burning the midnight oil. You can believe that.
All right. Well,
yeah,
thank
she's
you.
always been a busy person. The whole city's proud of her. She's our hero.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for that, Keith.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm going to let you guys get on.
All right.
And I'm going to eat my TV dinner breakfast.
Oh, okay. He's going to eat his TV dinner breakfast. Okay.
Waffles and
Thanks for
sausage.
coming. All right.
All right.
Bye. Oh, I do remember that, and we did a hat and glove drive where we donated to the school for the children.
Yep.
I
We had to
didn't
buy
realize
400 or
they
500
had-
coats every year or get them donated. And we
Right,
had some really
right.
good people sending in, new coats for kids.
Yes.
Because kids would come in a windbreaker and it's 20 below.
Yes, it's
Yeah, I felt for them many times. I've seen children like with hoodies, and of course, and that would be their only outerwear in January, December, and that type of thing. I'm very impressed because one of the things, and I'm glad you shared this, like you said, they may not have sufficient underwear. I mean, it's just things that the average person has no
doesn't
idea
know.
about
They
at
don't
all.
know.
That just
Right.
blew my mind when you said that, and it hurt as well. The idea that you don't have utilities because people who are doing all right or marginally have no idea about those who suffer the most. And then when you mention also how as you, just overwhelmingly improve the whole system, and then all of a sudden someone wants to come in, like you say, they give it to us when it's broke. When we fix it, then they want to grab hold of it and then act as if they had some part in its success, which is criminal in my mind anyway.
And
I
would
agree.
think if I'm over there standing on my head and you find out that this is happening, that these improvements are taking place, you should come over and stand on your head too.
Yeah, right.
I mean, because seriously, and it was all of the things that I'm talking about are just a few of the things. When I came in on Mondays, I always had a couple of kids that I needed to take to the Coney Island because they didn't eat all weekend. And they were sitting in the office crying they hadn't had any food. And then I had boys who were, trying not to be involved in gangs and drug trafficking, but they were taking care of their family because their mama was on crack. And, this is the kind of stuff that you hear about and people see it on TV and they think it's TV. It's not. In our community, it is real for so many children. And if you don't at least get a high school diploma, you can't eat. In this culture, you can't have any drugs on you ever. You can't even smoke marijuana because they drug test you. And you have to have that high school diploma at a minimum. Now, I admit the day I walked in, I thought everybody was going to med school and law school because that's what I wanted. That was my goal. And I learned over the time that the one thing I had to do, if I didn't do anything else, was graduate those kids. And I had to do it right because when they audit, I'm not going to let them say I did something I shouldn't do. So there were in terms of the self-esteem issue, the kids hadn't been exposed to anything. So we instituted a bunch of field trips. And for seniors, I started doing things during the year that celebrated them as seniors. We did a dance video throughout the school. We went from student to student. I have to play it for you sometime, Theo. It's amazing. And we went into classrooms, and they did, they had little gold shorts on, and they did You Can't Touch This, and they were amazing. We did that dance video with a videographer from Atlanta, Alexis Jackson, who is award-winning as a videographer and happened to be the daughter of our dean at the time. And then we did every year, my friend Elliot Hall, who was chairman emeritus of the music hall, every
Right,
year,
right.
he allowed us to use the music hall for a talent show for our students.
Oh.
With the seniors, I moved their prom from Boogaloo on the Corner, which is where they used to have it, down to the Renaissance Center Ballroom, where it was on the river with that big veranda.
Oh, yes.
And I moved their homecoming from a room at Cobo Hall with some chips and dip on the table to, over to the Crown Plaza where they had a full array of food and, it was decorated. And they began to feel like somebody was valuing them.
Right.
And it made such a huge difference. And the children were so respectful to me. I mean, I actually at one point took all their phones away. I would have them hand in their phones, and we had a folder for every student in the morning on the way in, and on the way out, they could pick up their phone. But I went by those classrooms, and I'm seeing these kids sitting there with their fingers going up and down on these keyboards while the teacher's trying to teach. That wasn't going to work. So I had to institute programs that would give support to the teachers in terms of the behavior in those rooms, and would also get the kids listening, because you can't learn if you're not listening. So many of them, the penalties were, if you get caught with your phone because you sneaked it in your underwear or whatever, and they really did that, by the way, you get caught with your phone, you lose it for a week, and your mom or daddy has to pick it up. And if you do it a second time, it's 2 weeks, and the third time, you don't get it back until the end of the school year. So the teachers would attempt to take the phones when the kids were found. It'd ring in their pocket or something. They wouldn't give it, but they'd call me, and I'd go over there, put my hand out, Johnny put the phone in my hand. Never once did I have a student disrespect me or tell me he wasn't going to do something. Because they understood I loved them, and I was going to make sure that everything that was done in that institution was to the betterment of them.
Oh, that's
We have
wonderful.
a caller, and then I've got a follow-up.
Okay.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please? Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Yes. Hey, actually, I was just trying to listen to the program. I'm having difficulties picking it up on the internet. So can you guys put me on hold to listen to the program?
Oh, okay. Your name? Yeah. What's your name?
Anonymous.
Anonymous is your name, but
Yeah,
you...
I just wanted to listen to the program.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Okay, we got him on hold.
That's interesting.
gonna
Somebody
call?
calls in anonymous, but they want to listen to the program.
Well, I guess
But no one tells you that.
he
What?
said that. I guess what Keith was saying, you can't pick us up on the internet, but Keith could hear us on the phone. So I don't know what it is. People who I guess are looking at us on the internet don't know what we're talking about, but they can see us visually,
Oh,
which is
okay.
not good.
That's
Yeah.
not the.
No.
That's not my issue.
Okay.
The fact that he didn't want to share his name is my issue.
Now,
But anyway,
the follow-up I was going to have is
we
that
forgive him. I think that's cowardice. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, what I was going to say is that, one of the things I like when you said you would tell them to hand the phone to you and they didn't show any resistance. I remember saying, I'm sure both of you have heard this before, that they say where children don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Absolutely,
And
yes.
and the fact that you came across in that manner. And one of the other things, I mean, there's so much that you've said that's really got me going. One of the things when you said how you would contact the parent to let them know where the status of their child, that's one thing that a lot of schools don't seem to want to do. Create an interaction with the parent, so that way the parent becomes engaged as well. Because when my children were in school, they were at the Malcolm X Academy. I made it a point to make those LSCO meetings, but what had startled me was how few parents were there. I know some had to work or something, but with the hundreds of students there, I'm sure, there 20 parents is not representative of what the school student body is, and that disturbed me. Now, the other thing you said also was how you had to wean the school of the teachers who did not either feel the students were capable of learning or just didn't show an interest other than, like you say, a paycheck and what their benefits are and that type of thing. And that really struck me as well, because a lot of times a lot of teachers are allowed to just continue on. They'll continue to fail students or feel like the child doesn't have any potential, where you were able to bring that potential out. So I really applaud you for that, because as far as I'm concerned, I can't think of the sister in Chicago, but she set
Marva Collins.
Marva Collins. She set a model for what you can do if you really want to. If it's in your heart to do it, you can do it. And you could write a book on this. I mean, you said so many things that the average person, I'm sure the listeners as well, have no idea. We do have another caller.
Oh, go ahead.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please?
Good morning. This is Sister Keela.
Thanks for calling, Sheila.
Yes, and I'm viewing you on Comcast.
Oh, okay.
I have a couple of comments and then just one question for Miss McPhail, and I want to say good morning to everyone.
Sure, go ahead.
Her situation reminds me of the takeover of the Detroit Public Schools.
What reminds you of the takeover of the
situation? Reminds her of the takeover of DPS.
Oh, where they took over your school. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, once you start doing good, once the children start learning and the test scores improving, and you know at the time of the takeover we had a pot of gold, then that's when someone or the powers that be decide that there's something wrong with what you're doing, using that as an excuse to take over what you have improved upon. So I wanted to make that comment, and I also want to thank Chairman Bell for the pro bono work that she has done in the community throughout the decade. And I also would like to ask her, what is her next step, and what is it that we can do to assist her? And I will listen off air. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
I think the next step, if I can make this happen, I'm working on it, is to get the public school system involved and to give them the program that I did. I'm also going to try to do that for Benton Harbor. But, you know, I can't stress enough, you've got to have somebody at the top who will supervise it, because if you don't, people only respond to the school leader. They will not respond to the principal. They will not respond to the counselor. They don't care about anything except the person that runs that school has got to make it clear, I'm watching you. I'm watching everything you're doing. So that's who you have to find. And not in a mean way, but, you know, I would walk around and give all of my teachers a flower or an apple or a little thing of Lifesavers that says you're a lifesaver. Or I would, you know, and when I went into a room, I would ask the students to stand and applaud their teacher. And, you know, these are things that they may not seem like much, but teachers appreciate that. At the end of the year, I personally got a bucket and some water and a white sponge and went around and made sure every classroom was spotless. I took all the old furniture out and replaced it with new furniture. We used to have a dean, Dean James, Sylvia James from Inkster, and she figured out that we could buy school equipment on the internet at auctions. And one year she got us like 300 new desks for $5. I mean, just stuff like that. So we would get rid of the old desks and all the gum they stuck under them, and we would put new matching furniture in the rooms. I would personally wash down things. We had the floors scrubbed and re-waxed. And when the teacher came in, there was a welcome back Miss Jones or Miss Smith, whatever it was, sign on the door, a balloon on her desk and a flower, a little tray of school supplies, like a tray that was actually wasn't that little. It had everything she would need, a stapler, you know, some pencils, pens, all that to start the school year. And we had a luncheon. And we also have one at the end of the year. We start showing appreciation to people, they act better.
Oh, yeah. And the
so,
affirmations that you posted around.
Right. And
those
we
work.
Continued, but we also did things during the school year to bring, in the clubs, to bring the students, my 9th grade girls. I remember walking up to the school year one day, and one of them was standing there shaking her little hips and saying the B word. I walked right up beside her and stood there and looked at her, and she was like, Miss McPhail, I'm sorry. I know I'm not supposed. I said, is that how a princess talks? And she said, no. I don't want to hear that out of your mouth anymore. Okay, I'm sorry. You know, but before that, it was okay. It was okay to talk any old kind of way. I started a program called Gimme 5. You know, Gimme 5. Only it was me going to the bank and getting $5 bills. I'd get like $300-400 worth of $5 bills. And the program was, if I stopped you and asked you a question from your civics class, your math class, your English class, whatever it was, and you could answer the question, even current event questions, you get a $5 bill. So you would not believe how many of those students did not know there were 3 branches of government or what they were. And so they'd be yelling out, no, see, if you yell out an answer, I got to do a new question. So I did that over, there were just dozens. I can't even begin to tell you how many things like that it took to bring those students to a place where they understood they were in school and they should study.
Ingenious, I have to say, and very motivating as well. And the fact that you had so many different techniques that you could use, and I like especially the idea of calling them princesses, just words that were positive. Another thing I just wanted to mention as well, when you mentioned like going around cleaning the classes thing, there are teachers who truly love teaching and don't mind making sacrifices, because we hear about them. Sometimes they may be on one of the news things and they highlight this teacher at this school, maybe teacher of the year or teacher of whatever, the city award. But one of the things that I like, that not only did you build the esteem of the children, and then for them to come in and see polished floors. I mean, because we always talk about when children are walking to school, how they have to see like maybe high grass and those type of things. It's the same thing in schools, like you were saying, how the ceiling might be peeling, falling in or something like that. And that does nothing to motivate an individual to want to do something. It's a distraction, and it's an unnecessary distraction, but it keeps them from focusing. Even the idea of phones, because right now, as we know, they're ubiquitous. So you're just having problems just all the way around, even with adults when it comes to that. So I think it's just admirable. I'm really impressed. Honestly, I say this somewhat jokingly, but I almost wish I could have went back and went to a school that you would have been over, just so I could have that kind of experience, that kind of environment, because I'm one who's motivated towards learning anyway. And to have that kind of atmosphere to be in, you want to have a waiting list of students who say, I can't wait to go to this school just because they've heard all the wonderful things you've done.
One of the things that does too, when you have a filthy environment, it says to the kids walking in the door, we don't care about you. And it does. That's what it says.
Right.
And so there was never going to be a time. But it was amazing how many people said to me, "Oh, you're just doing too much. Why you got to change all the furniture? Why you got to? I mean, they'll figure it out." No, see, they don't have to figure it out. They're coming here. It's our job to educate them. It is not their parents' job. It is not anybody else's. It is our job to educate them, and we're going to do that.
Right.
And so they're going to have the best of everything, just like other people do. They're going to have the best of everything.
Right. We have to stop and take a station ID break, and stay tuned. We will be back for another 30 minutes. You're tuned into Feedback.
Feedback.
Hi, this is Theo Bruton,
And I am Thabiti Mpinga,
inviting you to join us each Monday at 9 a.m. for Feedback.
a positive image production by Hood Research.
Encourage others to tune in each Monday on
Comcast Detroit, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, watch WHPR TV Network anywhere.
and take us along with you.
Feedback.
This is Bruce Simpson, your City of Detroit Ombudsman. I am here to address all of your complaints and concerns. If you need assistance regarding city services, please contact my office at 313-224-6000 or contact us via email at ombudsman@detroitmi.gov. This is Bruce Simpson, your City of Detroit Ombudsman.